Hello, everybody, and welcome to our workshop, Leading the Conversation, How AI Search Results Shape B2C Brand Discovery. I'm Maya, founding engineer here at 14AI.
I'm Tom Cruise. Andrew, founder and CEO of Athena.
Hi, Tom Cruise. I'm Marie, co-founder of 14AI. Welcome, everyone, and happy Halloween week.
If anybody is dressing up for Halloween, feel free to share in the chat, and we'll read your responses. As you can see, we're in our costumes here.
Yeah, we are live from San Francisco. Great. So, first question: how did you end up in AI SEO? What's the story behind?
Yeah, so I started flying fighter pilot jets, and then no, I'm joking. Enough about that. So, Andrew here. I used to work as a product manager on Google Search, and when I was there, I was working on the information acquisition team, which is really a place to be at Google because Google essentially is a huge amoeba, is I guess the word, of how much information Google acquires from all over the internet. And I realized the way this information is being surfaced is changing for the first time in 20 years, right? Before, people were used to the 3 blue links version of Google, 10 blue links version of Google, where most people just go to the top 3. Now we see that people actually enjoy the AI generated responses, and that's why we found Athena. We saw that this is a very interesting and fascinating technological shift of how people consume generated answers, and then there's also the consumer behavior shift, which is how people act on that information and use that to make purchasing decisions.
And how was your Y Combinator experience?
We loved the YC experience. Had fantastic time. I think we grew a lot as as founders, also as people. I think a lot of the traditional YC sayings that you read about online and hear about online, they're very much true.
Thank you.
So, what factors most influence whether a brand gets surfaced in AI-generated search results?
Yeah, a couple of things I would say. If we could break it down from a very high-level, top-down perspective, 2 main avenues for influencing AI search. First is thinking about on-page content. So, how is your website structured? Is your website accessible even to OpenAI, Claude, all these crawlers? And then the second part is looking at off-page, which is for each vertical you're trying to go after for your specific domain, who are the most influential websites on AI search? And this differs by each model. It differs by each vertical, and also sometimes differs by each persona as well. So then making sure you're going after, and you have a PR strategy, affiliate approach that goes after the most influential websites off-page as well.
Nice. And could you share some tactics that brands are doing to position themselves in AI SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some helpful tactics for improving on AI search is, first off, making sure that you have well-structured sitemap. This is similar to SEO, but if you think about it from the AI perspective, fundamentally, these AI models, when they go visit your website, they go to your sitemap first. And if your sitemap is not clean, that's a very easy way to make it very difficult for crawlers to access different parts of your website. Other tactics I've seen is some teams have made FAQ pages. That's another approach. One thing we would advise is making sure that when you are creating these longer, larger volume pieces of content, making sure that you're targeting it for the right audience that you're going after. That's one thing that we see as well, is some of our customers also being very personalized, creating content for specific personas, and that's another, I think, a next level tactic I've seen.
I love it.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the personas and how B2C brands can use that in their content strategy?
Yeah, here's a perfect example. So, let's say you're a college institution, right? Colleges are B2C in that sense. Or if you're any other product that's targeting teenagers. A lot of times teenagers, they'll want a product and they'll do research themselves online, but then ultimately their parents are the buyers at the end of the day. So then targeting content for a parent level versus for a child level. So for an example of a university, right? if you're marketing to potential prospective students, then maybe for the students, you might market more on the, you might have a page targeting students more on the like, hey, we have the best dining facilities, we have the best, dormitories. Versus for parents, they might care more about, oh, here's what the job rate is, the dropout rate, all of that. That's one example that just came to mind. But we can imagine many other situations where if you're a B2C company, maybe you have a wider range of people who are buying your product, and then you need to target these folks both in terms of age, demographics, but also in terms of geographies as well.
Mhm.
So sometimes B2C brands have multiple different countries, right? Well,
Oh.
not sometimes, quite often we see that these multinational B2C brands, and each country has its own set of biases for AI.
Yeah, and I'm very curious how you are helping brands, and if you can share more about like the Athena platform and also some brands that you feel are killing it currently in AI SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we built at Athena is we built the one-stop shop for everything AI search, right? So whereas before there was a lot of disparate things you had to do, and it was challenging to unify all of it in one place, that's what we've done at Athena. And we built a platform that helps you monitor how are you doing on AI search, take action, and then lastly attribute the impact of those actions. Some brands we've seen that have been killing it, for B2C specifically, we just did a case study with Grunes, the the vitamin gummy bear brand.
I love them. I always eat them at Barry's boot camp.
Yeah, yeah. Our team is also powered by Grunes. Yeah.
And I'm curious, what did they do to go from like zero to now an amazing AI SEO?
Yeah. So we worked with them, and also Joseph Siegel, who used to be the VP of marketing at Feastables, to develop a custom strategy for them where, in the case of Grunes, the category of health conscious, the persona of health conscious individuals, and also if we're talking about like gut healthy foods, that already existed, right? That search intent was already there. So it's a matter of aligning the content and the way Grunes positioned themselves on their on-page content to target uh, these specific searches that people are making related to gut healthy or health related searches, because health is one category we see of having a lot of high search intent and also high buying intent after people search up health conditions on ChatGPT, for example. So that was a perfect fit in terms of the industry, their customers were on ChatGPT researching gut healthy foods, and that's a perfect opportunity for Grunes to be targeting.
Love it.
Yeah, super cool to learn all about this and see their progress as well. Now I'm curious, what emerging trends or shifts in search behavior stand out to you right now?
Yeah, so I think one-click checkout is, we'll look back 1 year down the road and we'll think about one-click checkout as probably the most revolutionary part of this whole shift to agentic commerce, is the word everyone's using nowadays. What one-click checkout basically does is it transfers the buying interface from all these, if you're a Shopify store, all these Shopify storefronts onto ChatGPT, right? So when your consumers are, instead of going to your Shopify store first, they're going to your ChatGPT instance. If you're a big enough company, if you're like the DoorDash, Walmarts of the world, yes, like OpenAI, you can create an app for OpenAI and have a custom experience there. But even then, your on website experience is being eroded by ChatGPT, and it's shifting. So the brands who are on top of it realize, hey, look, like I need to start optimizing my ChatGPT and overview my AI presence, because if I don't do so, then my consumers will go there regardless, and we'll just miss out on the opportunity.
And I'm curious if you see a difference between a strategy for SEO and AI SEO.
Yeah, there are many overlaps, and the best way I like to think about it is, it's like playing two different ball games. One is like basketball, so SEO is like basketball, and GEO, generative engine optimization, AI search is like football. What I mean by that is that there are many similarities, right? And conceptually, there are many similarities as well. If you think about, you know, put the best basketball player who's trained their entire life for basketball into a football field, they won't be terrible. You know, they're still athletic. They still, you know, have hand-eye coordination, but they won't be able to beat someone who's been training for football their entire life. So the approach, how we think about it, is people who are optimizing for AI search will get that extra boost from being focused on AI search. And since we see now that majority of searches are moving to AI search already, I believe 50% of Google searches are now triggering AI overviews. What that means is that search is turning, SEO is turning into GEO, and we already see that shift. And that's the feature that we're betting on here, Athena.
And I'm curious if there's any kind of specific words of advice you can give for B2C companies, especially who are just learning about this or getting started.
Yeah. I think a quick way to get educated on AI search is we actually published a State of AI Search report on Athena's website. If you go to athenahq.ai, you can access the report. And we talk a little bit about, you know, some of these questions of how is SEO different than GEO? What are the metrics that you think about? How do we think about it differently? Because, you know, when the search intent has moved from 10 blue links to the AI generated answers, that comes with a different set of KPIs to measure and optimize for. We're talking about share of voice, citation rate, brand mention rate, and for these, we have a lot of research across different verticals. So for B2C specifically, we have benchmarks, you know, for retail, e-commerce. On what does it mean to be a strong brand on AI search for these verticals? There's specific challenges you face as a B2C brand, right? Like B2C brands on average have much larger number of SKUs than B2B. And just this, actually, like literally an hour ago, I was talking with a big B2C retailer, and one of the challenges is having, you know, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of unique SKUs that you need to optimize for, and that's where it requires a little bit more of a, you know, custom strategy, thinking about what are the SKUs that are driving the most revenue for you. You know, if you think about that, and also which SKUs are most highly researched. Because there are certain B2C brands where maybe AI search is not the right answer. And maybe, you know, your customers are finding you on TikTok and not on ChatGPT. I'll give you an example, right? Like fast fashion is industry we don't work with at Athena. We don't proactively engage. And if we do have fast fashion brands come in, we'll be very upfront with them and say, hey, look, like your customer buying journey starts on TikTok and Instagram and these other platforms. It doesn't start on ChatGPT. Versus if you're a company like Grunes, right? Yes, like you have some buyers starting on Instagram, Facebook, etc. But also you have customers who are very health conscious and have that other buying journey as well. So that's how we think about it, is first thinking about, hey, look, like you understand your business the best, and understanding, does my consumer's buying journey start from a research oriented place? And if so, then AI search is the optimal way to optimize for that. If not, then it might not be the right fit.
Thank you. We have a question from Hugo. We see a lot of changes in the algorithm on X, on Google, as well as a lot of new AI frameworks every day. How do you make sure to always be up to date with such a fast-paced ecosystem?
Yeah, fantastic question. So that's part of the excitement of this AI space, is that there are new models coming out, but also the existing models are never static, right? They're always evolving. So how we address this with Athena is, first off, we're constantly monitoring and adding new models as they become more popular. So for example, right, when Grok first came out, we added Grok because we knew that everyone on Twitter, on X, all of a sudden would be using Grok. And that's also quite big in certain communities, like, you know, the crypto community, for example. In terms of staying up to date with specific models as they change, we've built we trained a whole machine learning model called the Athena Citation Engine, ACE, which is trained on each of the individual models. And then we feed it, you know, what we see to be the top performing piece of content, the top responses that we see. And then we train it for each individual model, so that, you know, it's not humans reviewing, you know, what are best practices for each model, but actually an AI model we've trained. And that helps us to grade certain pieces of content and saying like, hey, this piece of content is X percentage likely to be cited in ChatGPT based on this huge data pool that Athena has, right, of ChatGPT responses.
We have another question from the audience from Matthew. What are the main differences in the changes customers are able to do to make improvements via AI SEO, AI SEO and SEO, and what are common pitfalls in the transition?
Great question. The differences and also the pitfalls. So I'd say one big difference is that traditional SEO focused a lot on page and optimizing schema and tags and all of that. And with AI SEO, we see that if we draw rough numbers, like about half the impact is on page, half the impact is off page. So there's a greater influence of off page sources, which influences how you do PR and how you do affiliate strategies. In terms of common pitfalls, I've seen customers at Athena where they start off optimizing for the wrong models. That's something that's really important to think about. I'll give you an example, right? In the context of B2C brands, I don't know how many of your friends are using Copilot, but I don't know any friends who are using Copilot.
No.
Right. And it's a funny example because we have Copilot on Athena, and we recommend Copilot if you're selling to Fortune 500 enterprise brands, right? Where their procurement is using Copilot because they have to. That's a fantastic fit for that ICP. If you're selling to B2C, then Copilot is not the right fit, right? And you probably want to target, depending on your demographic, you probably want to target ChatGPT, AI overviews, the more broader horizontal models. That's a very common pitfall, and this is something that we give some advice to our customers. Where, for example, if you're a dev tools company, you want to focus more on Claude, for example, right? And there's a lot of these like tiny optimizations that can make sure that we're really focusing your AI search strategy and your approach, your execution for your audience, and not just for a generic audience there.
I love it. And a question from Michael: do you have a sense on how the web will look like a few years from now, where most content will be designed to be consumed by AI?
Yeah, Grokpedia is very interesting. Great that you brought it up. I think the web is changing at the fastest pace since the beginning of the internet, both in terms of the speed at which the dynamics of the web is changing, in terms of like in the early days of Google search, the ranking, the speed at which the rankings would change and brands could rise in rankings was really, really fast, right? Like we saw entire businesses like Yelp, NerdWallet, Airbnb. They were all built off the back of traditional SEO, and they were all early into the space, and they built billion-dollar businesses off of that. When we think about what will be the Yelp, Airbnbs, NerdWallets of this time, when we look back a few years down the road, I think it's going to be the brands who can adapt the fastest. And the way I see the web, even 1 year from now, is that for B2C brands, consumers are going to be, if your item is a highly researched item, consumers will be starting the buying journey on ChatGPT or Google AI overviews. Not just because they offer the most amount of information, but also because inherently consumers are lazy. Right? I'm guilty of this myself. Like we use, you guys, I remember like a lot of things. I think I was trying to find a light or something, and I used ChatGPT to research it because honestly, like I didn't want to go through clicking all the links. I think that's the natural modality of highly researched buying journeys already, at least for me, and as it becomes even easier to search and the latency gets faster, where instead of it taking 1 to 5 minutes for deep research, it takes 30 seconds. That will only increase the consumer adoption of these AI models, and then we'll see that, look, like instead of going to your Shopify storefront, they're starting to search from ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is going to multiple different Shopify stores and then choosing the one that's the right fit for that consumer based on the context and what the consumer provides. So I think that would be a very interesting time where maybe the UI of a Shopify store won't matter as much. Maybe it will be more from a aesthetic perspective and less so from a like functional, conversion rate optimization perspective.
And yeah, speaking of being lazy, I'm also very lazy when searching for a product. And we thought it would be fun to do a quick live experiment and go on ChatGPT and ask a few questions. So, for instance, what shoes should I buy? Let's see what ChatGPT suggests. What do you think ChatGPT will suggest?
I don't know. It's a surprise every time.
So it looks like good shoe options. So Hoka, On, New Balance, Nike. A few recommendations, decide your priority, comfort and support. If you need two pairs, they suggest two recommendations. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that you just ask one question and you already have some links to buy.
And then what we also see is that a lot of consumers will follow up and say, no, I don't want sneakers. I want dress shoes for a wedding, for example. And that's when, if you're Kohan, which is one of the brands we see, maybe you care more about those sort of search intents than basketball shoes, for example.
Yes. And yeah, we are big fans here of Athena, and we are very curious to know what's on your roadmap. What are you excited about some features?
Yeah, great question. So one thing I'm very excited by that we're building at Athena is thinking about how to help B2C brands automate more of the GEO workflows. So if you think about the previous way brands did PR and they did affiliates, is that you'd go to like a Impact, or you'd go to like a Muck Rack, Season, Meltwater, and then do a lot of manual research. And I think there's still a world where there's some role that could play, but if you think about where the shift of AI infusing into every one of our workflows, I think there's a huge opportunity here to maybe give mid-market companies and also SMBs and mid-market companies bigger leverage, give them a hammer that they can compete against larger companies, where larger companies have whole PR departments, right? But how can Athena empower a team where you have maybe one PR person to, act as a PR team of 10, have the output of a PR team of 10? That's one thing we're thinking a lot about, and we're building towards Athena. Same thing with affiliate management. Thinking about how do you do research for the right affiliates to go after, right? And if you have a team of one, how do you magnify the impact with a tool like Athena?
Amazing. Building small teams with big impact.
Exactly.
Super cool to hear about it. And yeah, we learned so much. So yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. And thank you everybody to our audience who joined us live. We do have a workshop next week called Turning Customer Feedback into Proactive Support with AI. We're going to have the link in here so you guys can sign up for it as well. We're going to be diving into customer feedback, and we're also going to have a workshop recap live so you can, read all of Andrew's amazing insights afterwards as well. And once again, thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate you being here, and thank you so much.
Tom Cruise.
Glad to be here. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, and happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.